In today's video, I want to go over a new trademark filed by Supermassive Games, which some are thinking are pointing to yet another PlayStation 4 exclusive. By them, it could be a multi-platform title, but I do want to give you guys some speculation as to what that might be. A Plague Tale: Innocence is one of the PlayStation 4's more interesting upcoming titles. It looks to have a very unique story and style of presentation, and we just got a new story trailer for the game, so I do want to go through that. Also, Sega's Toshihiro Nagoshi wants to see Yakuza Online come to the West. Could we see that happen? Who knows? Of course, a little bit different of a Yakuza game since it is Yakuza Online, but something to talk about as well. And then I do want to round out this video by taking a look at the 10 new PlayStation 4 game releases this week. Yes, there are 10 new PS4 games coming this week, and I have to say, in terms of depth and variety, this is one of the more stacked weeks, so I want to take a look through all of those games. More on that at the end of this video. First up, House of Ashes has been trademarked by Until Dawn developer Supermassive Games. Now, Until Dawn was, of course, a PlayStation 4 exclusive, but Supermassive Games was never acquired by Sony as a first-party studio. They just worked hand-in-hand with Sony to bring out Until Dawn, but that game turned out rather well back in 2014. Going into the release of that game, I really was expecting it to be a little bit of a train wreck, but it turned out to be a pretty great game. Was it the best PlayStation 4 exclusive? No, but it definitely offered something fresh and unique to the PlayStation 4's library, especially at that time. The PS4's library was still in that growing phase, and Until Dawn definitely added something unique. Since then, I feel like the development studio behind that game, Supermassive Games, has found a fan base, and they've been working on other games, specifically the multi-platform Dark Pictures Anthology series, with the first game of that series arriving later this year. However, the studio also noted that it has several PlayStation 4 exclusives in the works, but those haven't been mentioned as to what they specifically are. Supermassive Games specifically filing a new trademark titled House of Ashes might point towards what that game could be, and specifically with them calling the game House of Ashes, that does once again sound like some sort of story-driven horror adventure. That's just speculation on my part. You can only tell so much based on the title, but based on the fact that it is being trademarked by Supermassive Games, that's pointing towards something that they are working on and something that is in the pipeline. If you've never played Until Dawn, at this point it regularly goes on sale on the PlayStation Store for, I believe, as low as $5. It's not a complete home run of an experience, but it's a very charming game, and it's a game that I recommend everyone to own because there's not anything quite like it on the PlayStation 4. Of course, a game that's light on the gameplay, very story-driven, but it's got that 80s horror vibe, and it really nails that to a T, so check it out, and we'll keep you guys posted on how House of Ashes develops and whether or not that is another PS4 exclusive. Speaking of story-driven games, one game that's very interesting and is a story-driven experience is A Plague Tale: Innocence, and it just got a new story trailer revealed, so I'll leave a link to that in the description box below. This game is a brand new IP from Asabo Studio, bringing their veterancy in game development to a moving story of adventure and bonding through the darkest hours of history. In the story trailer, you just see a glimpse of the heartbreaking tale of the young Amika and her brother Hugo on the run from the Black Death, a plague of rats, the Inquisition, and worse besides. The story begins in the Kingdom of France as the 100 Years' War and emergence of the plague start to take a toll on the population. The Derun family lives a still peaceful, sheltered life in their castle and surrounding lands, but that can't last. Amika and Hugo's journey will take them to incredible places, some indescribably horrifying, others hauntingly beautiful, and many a mix of the two. The people they meet and their fates will shape their story, and it's unlike either sibling would survive without the other. As they grow closer, the world gets harsher and the bond becomes even more vital. Pre-orders for the game are available right now from digital and retail on consoles. It is due out May 14th on the PlayStation 4, one to keep an eye on. It could be a sleeper hit in 2019. And lastly, before we get to the new game releases of the week, I do want to mention that Sega's Toshihiro Nagoshi wants to see Yakuza Online come to the West. Now, Yakuza Online brought the Yakuza franchise to mobile platforms in Japan recently, and according to an interview with OtaQuest, Nagoshi, the chief creative officer for Sega and most recently the director for Judgment, that's an upcoming PlayStation 4 exclusive that's starting to build a lot of hype, he wants to see Yakuza Online be localized for the West but can't promise anything. He specifically said, quote, "I can't promise anything either, but I'd like to eventually see Yakuza Online make its way to the West." Now, Yakuza Online does have a different protagonist, and the game revolves around collecting cards for your party to deal out damage, which cues in the different gacha rolls for SSR, SR, and R-ranked units. Gameplay seems to be pretty simple in that it's turn-based action, so it's not your typical Yakuza experience, but anything to make the Yakuza franchise more popular over here in the West, even if it's not inherently a game that you have interest in and a game that you'll play. A game like this, if it is a free offering on mobile, it's gonna attract a different audience, and that would only create more awareness for the Yakuza IP, and that's definitely not a bad thing, so I'd like to see Yakuza Online come to the West. We'll keep you guys posted if that does come to fruition. Alright, and moving on from that, I do want to quickly go over all of the new PS4 game releases this week. We've got 10 games to go over, so there's a lot of stuff to get into, so let's go over each game pretty quickly. The biggest game release of the week has to be Devil May Cry 5. That'll be coming March 8th, the latest game in the Devil May Cry franchise, and Devil May Cry is returning to its roots. You've got Nero in the game, you've got Dante in the game, you've got some stylish gameplay, you've got slick presentation, awesome music, and there is a demo available on the PlayStation Store, so if you've yet to check that out, make sure you do so. Again, Devil May Cry 5 is due out on March 8th. Also, a pretty major release this week is Square Enix's Left Alive. Left Alive is dropping March 5th, and it's a brand new survival action shooter telling a human story of survival from the perspective of 3 different protagonists during the devastating invasion set in a war-torn Novoslava in 2127. You've got mechs in there. Seems to have a very intriguing story. Interested to see how this one turns out, not getting a great reception over in Japan, but let's see how the game fares in the West. Again, that's dropping March 5th. Also, we've got a very interesting game from White Paper Games, The Occupation. The Occupation drops March 5th, and the game takes place in a single government building in real time over 4 hours. The game advances without input from the player, but almost all in-game actions can affect the game's story. I know some people are going to be a little turned off based on the time mechanics of the game, but The Occupation inherently was built with that mechanic in mind, so in that sense, it is a little bit more interesting. Again, The Occupation comes March 5th. Another game coming March 5th is Eternity: The Last Unicorn. Eternity: The Last Unicorn is a fully featured action RPG inspired by tales from Norse mythology with classic game mechanics that bring a nostalgic feel to players. The game does tout over 12 hours of gameplay, the setting's interesting, presentation looks solid. We'll see how the game turns out as Eternity: The Last Unicorn hits the PS4 on March 5th. Next up, we have a very well-received PC game making its way over to the PlayStation 4, and that is the multiplayer title in Move or Die. That'll also be coming March 5th. Move or Die is described as an absurdly fast-paced 4-player local and online party game where the mechanics change every 20 seconds, the very definition of a perfect friendship ruining game. 20 seconds, constantly changing mechanics, and a lot of yelling. There are keywords that perfectly describe a round of Move or Die, the 4-player friendship ruining party game where rules change every single round. Definitely a game you want to play with a couple of friends, but an interesting title nonetheless. Move or Die hits the PS4 on March 5th. Here's a game that I'm personally very excited for, and that is Beat Cop. Beat Cop is another game that's already been released on PC. It's been received pretty positively over there. It's coming March 5th, and it's a retro pixel art style adventure in New York inspired by 80s cop shows. You are Jack Kelly, and you've been framed for murder, and now as a regular beat cop, you have to find out who did that, expect thick crime story, a lot of black humor, and all the other things you can find on the streets of Brooklyn. Again, Beat Cop is hitting the PS4 on March 5th. Another March 5th release, a fantasy RPG with a story of friendship between humans and gods. Elan Nogard set off to look for the demon who cast the town into a sea of flames and to find other Grimoires in order to put a stop to its violence. Bonds of Disguise comes to the PlayStation 4 on March 5th. Also, another RPG coming is Crimson Keep. Crimson Keep is coming March 5th, and it's a first-person action RPG where you descend into an ever-changing labyrinth full of monsters, traps, and treasures. Locate the sunken remains of an ancient castle and cleanse it. The great power you find within could be your only hope of escape. Another game that's been released on PC didn't have much of a reception at all on PC, went really under the radar, and again, Crimson Keep will be coming March 5th. Next up, we have Attack of the Earthlings. That'll be coming March 5th, and this is another former PC release that was received very well, and you take on Galacto-Oil, a comically dysfunctional intergalactic energy corporation and its larger-than-life employees in a tactical stealth game that fuses satisfying strategic gameplay and dark comedy in a quirky single-player story. Gives me a little bit of a vibe from XCOM, definitely on a lighter tone in that this game isn't to be taken all too seriously, but sometimes games like this are a good diversion. Attack of the Earthlings comes to PS4 on March 5th. And lastly, we have a VR release in Summer Funland. That'll be coming March 7th, and it's out. Get ready for the awesome VR experience that is Summer Funland. Spectacular attractions and pure fun abound. A crazy roller coaster, hilarious minigames, an incredibly fast-paced motorcycle ride through Gotham, underwater voyage, and space trips. Summer Funland will blow you away. That's coming March 7th. So those are the 10 new PS4 games coming this week, definitely highlighted by releases like Devil May Cry 5 and Left Alive, but some other interesting titles like Eternity: The Last Unicorn, The Occupation. If you want a multiplayer title, Move or Die is going to be awesome, and I personally have some interest in Beat Cop as well. And that's going to conclude this video. Again, House of Ashes has been trademarked by Until Dawn developer and Supermassive Games. Could that be yet another PlayStation 4 exclusive? I'm thinking so. A Plague Tale: Innocence could be one of the PlayStation 4 sleeper hit of 2019. Yakuza Mobile might be coming stateside. It's a mobile Yakuza game, so take it for what it is. And again, we've got 10 new PS4 games coming this week. Let us know which PS4 games you're planning to pick up this week. That's going to conclude this video. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.